Alright, theory students, welcome to the second video on some basic part writing. This is the one on part writing 151 and lots of different options. This is discussed on the part writing tonic and dominant section of our on my theory resource Flippin' Theory. So I'll go back to the notation software. And here we go. So our 5 choices, which are discussed on that page there, and you can also, I'm using as an example for myself, page 132 in the textbook. The example on the bottom, 2.2. So lower neighbor motion is exactly the same as what we would have done in the basic part writing we did for reposition tries before. So C major, 151 is C, G, C, and I need a particular voicing here, so we'll go with, so we need to make sure that we write do, ti, do in the soprano for this one to work. So do, ti, do, C, B, C. And so my option here with the way I voice this is to do, I can either do G, I could do either option. So let's do closed position here. So here's G. And then that means my E that I'm going to choose is not this one because I can see this one before I get to the next G. So I need that E if I want closed position here. Of course, you can write the G in the tenor down an octave and write that E in the alto, and that would be perfectly fine. So we're going to do what we normally do. Notice we have, so 1 to 5 is a root movement by fifth, so we need one common tone, which is our G in the alto. And then the other 2 voices will move by step. This one's C to B, and then D, E to D. And then we reverse and do the exact same thing going to the next chord, keep the common tone G, and move our D up to E. So the lower neighbor motion will be do, ti, do in the soprano, and you'll write the normal thing we did in the other video. Right, so the next option is to do upper neighbor motion, and we have 2 choices. We can either resolve the leading tone, which is in an inside voice, or to frustrate the leading tone in an inside voice. So we'll write in the bass. Here I'm in E minor, E, excuse me, I need a half note, E, B, E. And my soprano here for the upper neighbor motion is starting on do again. And I need do, re, do. So E, F sharp, E. So there's an upper neighbor motion. And we need another voicing here. I'm going to have G there, and I'm going to put the B in the tenor. Right. So to do this, since we have move up to re, we don't move down by step. We only have steps down and then steps up. Here we go up and then down. So we have to do something different in our inside voices. And so our solution here is this is what Dr. Dickert calls rule number 2, which this was rule number 1 over here. So rule number 2 is if we don't keep the common tone, which would be the B here, we're not going to be able to keep it to do this. So everybody moves in the same direction to the same closest note. So since we're moving up here in the upper voices, everybody else is going to go up too. So our G may is going to go up to sol, and our B sol is going to go up to D sharp. Our T in E minor. And so now we're going to take the leading tone here, and we're going to resolve it, which means taking T to do. It's the tendency tone. We're going to resolve it. So notice that gives me an E, an E, and an E. Oh, that's 3 E's. So it means I'm going to have to leave out a note, which is usually the 5th. We're going to do that. So that means I'm going to take my G, my B here, and move it back down to may. So, and that gives us 3 roots and a 5th, and so an incomplete one with our resolved leading tone and inside voice. So our voices are do, sol, do, re, do, may, sol, may, and sol, ti, do. Okay, let's listen to that one. So to go backwards, so to compare against here, so So we have do, sol, do, mi, re, mi, or me, re, me, sol, 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 and do, ti, do. So notice the similarities and differences between these two here, and how just having do, re, do in the soprano makes a bunch of changes we need. Right, so then there's the upper neighbor motion with frustrated leading tone. So I'm doing this in F major this time, so I need F, C, F. Okay, those need to be in voice 2 here. Okay, and now I need again do, ti, do in the soprano. No, do, re, do in the soprano. Do, re, do. Lovely. So now I need we'll do open spacing again. So I need A, excuse me, I'm making mistakes. Okay, there it is. And I also need then a C in the tenor. There we go, F, A, and C. All right, so now we start by doing the same thing we did from 1 to 5. So my mi here has to go up to sol, and we don't keep the sol common tone, and that's going to go up to T. And now this time, so that we can have a complete one, we're going to frustrate T, and T is, instead of going to do, is going to go down to sol instead. So this is frustrating leading tone here. T, sol, and then we'll do the same thing here we did with sol and go down to mi this time. So this is upper neighbor motion with the frustrated leading tone, and a complete one, F, C, A, and F. 2 Fs, A, and C. Here we go. Lovely. Okay. So there's upper neighbor motion in both ways. All right, so now passing motion. So I'm in B minor this time. Let me put in my bass. Let's do it this way, just saves me some time. So B, F sharp, B. Now I need a new voice. And so the passing motion does mi or me, re, do. So we're in B minor, so we need me, which is D, C sharp, re, and do, B. So there's our soprano. So I need a voicing here. So I'm going to do, I need F sharp and B. I'm going to put F sharp in the alto, and I'll put D and B in the tenor. All right. So what this calls for is we can do 1 to 5 like we did early like we did over here. Notice that we have mi, re in the tenor here, and it's going to be mi, me, re in the soprano. So we're going to keep our common tone sol, F sharp in this instance, and do will go down to T, which is A sharp in B minor. And then here we do something similar to what we did up here with the resolved leading tone version here. So T is going to go back up to do, which gives us 3 Bs. So we're going to have another incomplete chord, which means our sol, sol will go down to me. All right, so the solfege for passing motion is me, re, do, or mi, re, do, sol, sol, me, do, ti, do, and do, sol, do. Excuse me, do, sol, do. Which over here with the upper neighbor motion was do, sol, do, sol, ti, sol, mi, sol, mi, or me, sol, me, and do, re, do. So let's take a listen to the passing motion example. Great. And then the incomplete neighbor motion is the one that is happening in a minor key. So let me get the bass here. Do what I did before. So I need G, D, G, 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 D. I'm gonna go up and G. That D, by the way, in the bottom is too low. And then we need incomplete neighbor motion, which is going to do me, ti, do in the soprano. And so me in G minor is B flat. going to go down to F sharp and back up to G. So that's our incomplete neighbor motion, which has a diminished fourth, B flat down to F sharp. May T do. So we need some notes. So I want a D and I need a B flat as well. So I know I need a G as well. So there's my G, two G's, D and B flat. So to do this one, we can actually keep our common tone sol all the way through. I'm sorry. Bleh. That's in the other voice. Aha. Okay, there it is. Common tone sol. And so that gives us two D's in F sharp, and we can move up from G to A, and then we need the note we need, and our missing is our B flat. So notice we have do, sol, do, re, may, sol, 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 and may, ti, do. Notice that the voice that had do at the beginning now has may, and the voice that had may at the beginning now has do at the end. Here's what this one sounds like. So the test is going to have very clear directions about how you're going to be able to part write all 5 of these examples. Just make sure that you've done enough times that you won't be confused when you're sitting there looking at the test. All right, so practice all 5 of these motions in various keys and in both major and minor. So there you go. So with this and the previous video, this should give you some good things to practice before you take the test. Have a good night.